You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
How firm thy friendship. Oh, how
you know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood, sweat, and them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lames. Yeah, you know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. Covered in gray and scarlet, massive, stiff arms to your jaw. We breaking it. We sick of seeing you clowns with the crown. We taking it.
What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Buckeye Boys, where we talk about college football with real fans. I'm Devin. That's Bello. And tonight, man, got a big-time guest, dude. We got JUCK joining the show. He does not need an introduction. JUCK, how you doing, brother?
Fantastic, guys. Happy to be back on the Buckeye Boys with a Z.
Yes, sir. That Thug Life Z. It's a Thug Life Z. You know? I wonder if people actually, dive into that and think we're thugs. And surely not, right? They see us on
there's
here.
No way. This is a college football channel.
Hey, Mello, how you doing today, bro?
Man, I mean, it's a little rough with the news we received last night, but other than that, it's pretty good. Can't complain here with you guys.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, ZZM, Matt Rogers, a faithful listener to our show, man. Met him over there on Scoop, and he's been around on all the Buckeye shows. You always seen him in the chat. 43 years old, I believe. He passed away, so it's going to do like a 5-second moment of silence just to honor him, man, and his family. Keep him in our prayers, keep him in our thoughts. So yeah, we're going to do that right now. Yeah, man. So it's kind of wild, dude. When stuff like that happens in life, it makes you think about, the things that you have in your life that you're grateful for, and the people you're around, and the people that you meet, the relationships that you have. So, I put it in the title, kind of do this show and remember to him tonight. But Mello, anything to add to that? JUCK, anything to add?
Yeah. Just remember, life is short, man. I know a lot of us have gone through stuff or through this community in our personal life. Just remember, some of the stuff that you look at in life is just short term, it's petty, it's insignificant. Just value every day and try to take it and seize the day and love on your loved ones and your friends and your family. That's all I could say. I lost a lot of friends in the military. Obviously, I was infantry, so we were kicking in doors, clearing villages and stuff. So it's never easy, but just try to lean on your faith, whatever that may be, and keep it rocking and rolling, man.
Terrible for a guy so young, man. Heart goes out to him and his family. Appreciate you guys taking a moment of silence to recognize him.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on a lighter note, it's spring ball, man, which has crept up on me at least, and I'm probably you guys as well. Just like out of thin air, dude. Just out of nowhere. Last off season, I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but I feel like it took forever, like literally forever, dude. I remember, I was all over message boards, reading every article that anybody ever put out. I read the whole thing probably twice. I mean, that's how anxious I was for spring ball and some type of action to get started. I was breaking down recruits, film. I was doing everything. Now spring ball's here. I didn't have time to do none of that, dude. Spring ball is here, man, and I'm excited. Did it creep up on you guys as well, JUCK?
Absolutely, and I'm so happy about it because it was like I didn't even, we had a break, but it wasn't so long that I was like, gosh, this is taking forever. I need a fix, and I love it. As far as I'm concerned, we can go ahead and play this late every year and keep this nice and short here, this little gap. So I'm in.
And yeah. I agree completely. I wanted to ask both of you guys because all three of us had the luxury and the privilege to be at the Rose Bowl in person. I keep finding myself on YouTube watching the film breakdowns or trying to rewatch the game and relive the moments. I don't know. That was my favorite game of the season. I just think it's my disdain for that program, how they keep chasing the same guys we're chasing, how Tez was so cocky after October 12th win in the presser about, yeah, we knew bombs away. So like, I don't know. Have you guys found yourself watching the highlights of that game over?
Juck.
Absolutely. It's great because you see a lot of views that you didn't see when you were there. I mean, obviously I watched the game back, but when you're there, it's just totally different. It was such a great trip. It was such an awesome game to take in, and the way it started steamrolling, it was just something, I'll never forget. Obviously, you guys too, and really everybody watching, even if you weren't there, but being there in person, taking that thing in was just quite an experience, man.
Yeah, it was totally. To be honest, I know, like on this show, I said it was going to be a blowout and all those things, but in my heart, I don't know that I really believed it. So when I was seeing it with my eyes, I was like, "Holy crap, dude, this is insane!" But the highlight of the game for me was Dan Lanning's face on the sideline on a couple of those plays. That made it for me, dude. Like, dude's a good coach and whatnot, but what he does in recruiting and the team out west stuff gets a little annoying from time to time. So I love that. But dude, I went to the Texas game as well. Juck, did you go to the Texas game?
No.
That one, that takes the cake for me. I went to all of them, and that one takes the cake for me for the best playoff game that I was at. There was a lot going on there. You guys know how the game ended. So that was my vote for the favorite one. But each of them had their own thing in particular that I will always remember. I'm addicted now. I'm saving already for this upcoming year. So I didn't have this in the show notes. This is a topic that can take an entire show. And matter of fact, we are going to do a show on it. But I just want some quick thoughts, Juck and Mello, on the fact that we played so long in these playoffs. It's a blessing for us fans. Watch football later. Football starts sooner. The whole 9 yards. Is it more of an advantage or a disadvantage in terms of preparation for the next year? You get freshmen coming in to get to practice with the team while they're getting ready for the games, but you also get a lot of those winter workouts, a lot of break times cut off. So, Juck, start off, where are you at? I know this is a huge topic and can be talked about for hours, but just a quick run through of it.
You can look at it both ways. Ultimately, I think it's an advantage because you get, and they talked about this over and over again, how much extra time they got together, like a family. I think that's great for all those guys on the team this year that were able to spend so much time together, particularly the guys that weren't playing much, that are going to move into roles where they're not playing a ton, how tight they were able to get throughout that time period. And then in addition, and I think this is something maybe overlooked a little bit, but those transfers who came in, who were able to practice, that gets you off really on a big jump here as we enter into spring. These guys, they were able to suit up, and CJ Donaldson was a scout back, and that gets them acclimated faster. So all in all, I think it's definitely a net positive, but it does a little extra wear and tear. I think we overblow that though, man. Like we kind of forget sometimes, living in these bodies that are 40 years old, what it was like when we were 18 and 19. Like, yeah, a season beats you up, but a couple months after, you're ready to roll. Like it's not like when you're this age. So
yeah. Mello?
I mean, Juck hit it right on the head, especially the last part about how young they are in their body recovering, and then they have the best trainers that money can buy. I've been in the WAC because for my daughter in soccer, and I've seen the stuff that the soccer team has. So I can only imagine what the football program has. So I'm not as concerned with that, especially because they have the little ring. So they know how much sleep they've had, how hard they've gone at practice, and they literally will be like, no, you're sitting out today. You went hard. You might feel great, but you overworked where we wanted you for this week. So, I mean, I think they got that down to a science. Now, I do think it's a plus because you have the early enrollees, the transfer portal guys that get to work out, get to practice with the team, see how a champion, especially if you're coming off a natty, you see how a championship team is put together, how hard they work, the culture, and you get to embrace that and dive into it early. So I feel like our freshmen actually got more of a head start than most of the other places around the nation because of who they got to even go against.
Yeah, for sure. Even if it was a disadvantage for the next season, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Doesn't matter. Natty, playoff run, trumps everything. But I will take experience over a workout or a practice any day of the week, right? So these guys in that atmosphere, getting the practice reps in, the whole 9 yards. I think Ryan Day said in his press conference, you're going to see some of these freshmen, these transfers that got the ability to come in and practice. They've got that experience, and he said it's probably going to show up in April, right? You're going to be able to differentiate the freshmen that were here during that time and the ones that weren't. But shout out Aunt Chris, man, with the old $20. She didn't give me anything for my last couple of birthdays and Christmas, so this makes up for it. Thank you so much, Aunt Chris. I appreciate you. I'm trying to find that comment. Normally I can hit this and it pulls it. There we go. So proud of what the show stands for. So much more than football, taking care of vets and kids in addition. Absolutely, man. Just paying it forward. You guys know our hearts on this channel for sure. And then shout out Donald and Karen for gifting the 5 Buckeye Boys memberships every night. You're always supporting the channel. Love you to death. But so we're going to dive into it. I know we've talked about it before, but it's a little bit different with Juck on the show, like getting some conversation going. Ryan Day, the best way I can describe it is pulling some Nick Saban type of moves this offseason with his hires, with the way that he's operating, with his demeanor, the whole 9 yards, even in his press conference. Go watch his press conference last year to this year. To me, just seemed a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more happy. Obviously, the dude won a natty. But, Juck, I want to start with you and get your overall opinion. There's a list of coaches, I believe 10 new additional coaches. And is there 10 ex-NFL players on the coaching staff now? Is that what it is? 10 additional and 10 NFL? Or is it – I forget what it is. But, obviously, I'm not going to go through the list of all the hires. But, Juck, just talk to us about the main ones and any other ones you want to mention, the Matty P. We're going to have some defensive changes. We'll start there with Matt Patricia.
Matt Patricia, I'm a big fan. I think it was a fantastic hire. I think it was an outside the box hire, and it's something that's going to pay huge dividends for Ryan Day. He got exactly what he wanted, right? He wanted someone who would come in, coexist with his current staff, who wouldn't have a problem with that, wouldn't need to bring his guys in to assist him, and a guy who could come in and keep the defense the same. How many candidates exist out there like that? Very few. To be able to get one with the experience Patricia has, and to get a guy who, we talk about for years, joked about Saban's rehab school for coaches. And, this is a guy who was overweight and unliked. And, it seems to me like he's made a total change in his whole life. And you can see it in the press conferences and the interviews. We saw the clips come out yesterday, him getting down on his hands and knees, coaching CJ Hicks with his arm around him. It looks like the perfect fit. But to your broader point about all the coaches, I am so impressed. He just dealt with a Saban coaching poaching, right? You lose both coordinators, your offensive line coach, and you go out. The offensive line in particular impresses the heck out of me. Like, it's the one area that we all just, me and you two in particular, we're furious about forever. And he goes out and he assigns Tyler Bowen, an offensive coordinator, a sitting offensive coordinator, who comes to Ohio State to take the O-line position, which is an ultimate Ohio State flex right there. And they've done that with several coaches now who have downgraded in position just to be a part of this. By the way, a side point, the coaching fraternity is feeling Ohio State right now, as we're seeing so many guys do that. But to get him to come and do that and give him basically a blank check and say, go get who you need. I don't care, but make sure you make the recruiting in the Ohio State offensive line room look like the rest of my team and develop. And he goes out and gets 2 guys who were offensive line coaches last year at Purdue, in Marcus Johnson, at Oklahoma State, and Charlie Dickey. They bring in his buddy from Virginia Tech. Now you got 4 guys here, and the energy is so different. To me, that's the most impressive piece of all this. I think Tyler Bowen's going to be an absolute slam dunk success.
Yeah, amen. Well said. Mello?
Absolutely. I'll start with Tyler Bowen, work my way backwards. I think Tyler Bowen is exactly what this fan base wanted, exactly what we needed in terms of send out more offers. You remember how little offers Justin Fry was sending out? It was like night and day. I called Dev. I was like, dude, how many offers do we have out? Like, this is insane. I can't even keep up. So I'm expecting us to return back to O-line U like we were for a while back in back in the day, and I'm looking forward to it. In terms of the development, I don't think it's going to slip because of the additional hires that they made. So that's the one thing I will not take away from Justin Fry. I did at one point last season, I didn't think he was a good developer, but obviously after you lose the best left tackle and the best center in one season to do what we did with that O-line, I was obviously wrong in terms of his development. He could definitely develop. So I think we won't see a lack of development going forward. And in terms of Matty P, I think that was a superb hire. It almost reminds me of when we got Will Howard and everybody was saying, oh, that's terrible. And I'm like, that's a perfect fit for Chip Kelly's system and what he wants to do. I feel like Matty P is perfect for this team, especially for all the things that Juck already stated, but also it allows Ryan Day to help out on the offensive side more with Hartline and with Tyler Bowen, because now he has a true head coach on the defensive side already.
Yeah, that well said as well. Matty P, exactly what you just said, man. Right, with Brian Hartline coming up, I mean, to me, when I hear Ryan Day, like I said this the other day on the show, before Ryan Day spoke about the Hartline hire, I was convinced that Ryan Day was going to let Brian Hartline completely take over the offense and do his thing. Then I heard Ryan Day talk, and I feel more like Ryan Day is going to be more involved in the offense than definitely he was last year. That's just my take. But there's no way he'd be able to do that if he didn't go out and get somebody like Matt Patricia. It's the NFL experience, the 2 Super Bowls as a coach, 3 total. You see a pattern with Ryan Day. All these coaches that he's hiring, guess what? NFL. What is college football doing? Looking more like the NFL. 105 scholarship limit, the whole thing. A lot of things are changing in college football, and I think Ryan Day is way ahead of the game, way ahead of the nation of what he's doing. So I love the Matt Patricia hire. Of course, he got hired at Ohio State, so everybody wants to bring up stuff that happened 25 years ago, and oh my God, he's going to be horrible for the culture and whatnot. I just laugh that stuff away. Obviously, the dude, Juck, brought up the weight loss and stuff. If you do something like that in your life, you're a changed person. Something has changed inside of you and whatnot. You can't go out and do something like that and continue in your old ways. So I love the hire. I think it's going to help in recruiting when recruits hear, hey, man, our defensive coordinators won 2 Super Bowls. Show me another team that can say that. So it's a big deal. The Tyler Bowen hire is the one that I'm the most excited about, just because of how passionate I was about O-line recruiting. I think Ryan Day has clearly really focusing on a certain area of this team, and it's the offensive line. And in particular, the offensive line recruiting. I mean, even these assistant O-line coaches, they're from different areas of the nation. Look where they're from. They all have their hands in different parts of areas that we need to do better recruiting in. And it's going to pay in dividends, man. Like look at the amount of offensive line prospects that are visiting for the spring, more than any other position, just like it should be. It didn't used to be like that. Wide receiver used to be the number one. There'd be more wide receivers there than there would be offensive linemen. And we're in our heads, we're like, we don't need wide receivers. What's going on here? So I love it. In the developmental side of it as well, obviously Ryan Day just hired Austin Fields today as well. I don't know if it's today, but I just found out about it today. Another O-line coach, man, was the O-line coach, played in the NFL, offensive line, played college offensive line. So and yet another coach to add to the list that has experience in the offensive line. So, dude, what Ryan Day is doing, I'm excited. I think we're seeing the fruits of it already. What's your guys' thoughts on Tyler Bowen's ability to get Max Riley in the ship this early? Is it, he's just an Ohio guy, or are we giving Tyler Bowen some credit here for building that relationship so fast?
Ton of credit. And he pulled the trigger before he was going to. I mean, first off, he got him to hold off his decision for a little bit to give him an opportunity. He was down to Clemson, Ohio State, was going to make his decision relatively quickly, and then decided to put it off to give Ohio State an opportunity to get in, to get to know Tyler Bowen and the new staff. And then he ends up making it just as fast as he was always gonna, but it's the Buckeyes. That's a huge win and a huge indication of how good this guy is at handling it. And like Fry, we remember all the visits, and they'd come up for an OV, and we'd hear, oh, this guy might not make it out. And Fry wouldn't push for it. A guy like Henry Fanuku, and he was supposed to commit on his OV. He goes to Missouri the next week, and he commits at Missouri. And we hear, well, you know, Fry's just not a guy who's real aggressive and wants guys to pull the trigger like that. Tyler Bowen clearly is, man. Get in the boat or we're leaving, because he's got options everywhere. And what I love the most is, you know, the blueprint at Ohio State is to own the North. We grow linemen here. Let's just go ahead and get them and then take your swing at your 5-star, wherever he may be, the top guy, top 2 guys, instead of spreading out half your offers down in the South, fighting with the SEC for mid-range 4 stars and high-level 3 stars that we have right here, and we can just fight Notre Dame and Michigan and Penn State for them. Makes sense to me, right? And that's what he's done. 5 out of his 6 offers so far up here, the Northeast or the Mountain West, whatever you want to call that area over there, Idaho. So he's doing exactly what we always thought. We've now exceeded the number of offers that we had out all last cycle already under Tyler Bowen. But even more so than that, it's the energy. It's the energy. You can feel it from these recruits. You can feel it you could see it with the visits. It's just totally changed, just like that. I love it.
Yeah,
Tyler definitely gets 100% credit for pulling off Maxwell Riley. I know he's a local guy, but as we've seen from the last 2 cycles, that doesn't mean anything. They'll leave. Now you have TV, you have NIL, you're getting packages where they'll send a private jet to fly your family to all the games, put them in a hotel. So it's almost as if
Oregon.
It's almost as if you're not. No, you're good. It's almost as if you're not even leaving home. So we saw Adam Guthrie. We saw the safety go down to Clemson. So Clemson was a big threat. Ohio has a lot of talent. I've been saying it, and we've been saying it for the past 2 years, that if you lock down Ohio, especially on the O-line class and this 2026 class, that's good enough to win a natty right there alone. And then, like to Juck's point, and then you go and swing for the big fish, the Jackson Cantwells, the Henry Fanukus and Osos, everybody like that. I think Tyler Bowen was a great hire. He's a great recruiter. We already know that he landed Tyler Warren, who was immense for Penn State last year. So I think I'm telling you, he's going to do big things here. I believe that Ryan Day, this is why I know I'm early in the boat, but I do believe Ryan Day is the best coach in America. And it's mainly because when he sees a problem, he addresses the problem, he fixes the problem. And it might not always work, but he's always trying and attempting. And a lot of coaches don't do that. They get stuck in their ways and they're going to just not adjust at all. Ryan Day is the king of adjustments, and he's making great hires that are going to make him look even more elite.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing that pressed me about Tyler Bowen, the Maxwell Riley commitment, is look at the heater that Clemson was on, right? They have this magic juice where they did it last year too. One weekend, they get half their commits. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they say, but I would really like to get some inside information on what this freaking recruiting weekend looked like for Clemson, because they're doing something there, but they're on a pretty big heater. And then to come out of nowhere, like Juck said early, get the commitment from Maxwell Riley. It shows you the type of person that he is. Juck, I know you talk to O-line recruits as well. We do too, and they got nothing but good things to say about Tyler Bowen. People in the chat are wanting to know now, do we see a Will Conroy decommitment from Oklahoma? I haven't talked about him for a minute. Juck, what's your thoughts there?
I talked to Will last week, talked to him about IMG. He said it is it's like a prison for sports, and he absolutely loves it. As far as Tyler Bowen, he has reached out to him one time, said he would get back, and Will hadn't heard back from him at that point. And I kind of got the feeling that there wasn't a whole lot of pursuit by Ohio State at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, speaking of the state of Ohio, if you look at the offensive linemen in Ohio that Tyler Bowen has been in contact, that it's doubled since last year. You know, Justin Fry did not reach out to the Gliduses of Ohio, and at least we're in contact with them now. No offer yet, but they're there. Was going to talk about Larry Johnson and what we think about him. I'm going to skip that unless you guys are just burning to talk about Larry Johnson. Juck, are you just burning to talk about him?
I'm not burning to talk about Larry.
Okay.
Neither am I.
All right, let's move on to some recruiting things specifically. I'm going to start with Chris Henry because Mello brought up something that made me think about Oregon and what Oregon is doing in particular with Chris Henry, trying to get him nil money right now, monthly payments, coming in, offering Carnell Tate $1 million and whatnot. Juck, where do you stand with Chris Henry? I spoke to him a couple times, and I think he's a Buckeye. Brian Hartline and Ryan Day are here. He's a Buckeye, but anything can happen. What's your thoughts?
It feels like this decision is in recruiting so far away that I almost hate to even put a whole lot of thought into it because it's just going to annoy me. And it's like, when he moved out there and went to Mater Dei, we always knew right off the rip, Oregon was going to be involved heavily because they own Mater Dei. And sure enough, that's what's going on. And he's up there all the time and they're going to be coming hard. But, this isn't a kid who's grown up poor and needing a ton of money. It's not a situation where he's not ever seen big bucks around him. I just, in the end, I have to say, like, when has Hartline ever disappointed us when it comes to a commitment like this? He never has. So until he does, I'm just going to have to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Mello, I know your thoughts already, but do you want to add anything to that?
It's very simple. Hartline and Days are here. Chris Henry's going to be here too. It's just like J.J. Smith in terms of Miami and all the Florida schools were throwing money at him, making him come on visits. It's going to be the same thing with Oregon. Oregon's going to make their final push around the November early signing day where they're going to offer him the big bag, and we'll see what happens from that point and what Ohio State is going to counteract with.
So that's the other thing, guys. Like, there's a couple guys every cycle we know that the Buckeyes are going to go all the way in on. I think Chris is one of those guys. So, as far as the money situation, I think they're going to be very competitive in that realm where there's a lot of times when we know they're not. They're just trying to sell everything else. And when it comes to Chris, I think they're going all in.
I like this comment.
Yeah, that's Mr. Sittinelli. Appreciate you watching the show, man.
That's Epi's father, Juck, by the way.
Sittinelli, the defensive end.
Before, good dude.
Yeah,
he said Chris ain't going nowhere.
So I'm going to throw 3 more names out there to get through this, and then I want to talk specifically about the defensive end recruiting and our thoughts there. But we got Elbert Hill. We talked about him a little bit before the show and the whole official visit thing. Sam Greer, who I think is a 5-star offensive tackle, will be by the end of the cycle. And Favor Akey, the newly offered running back out of Ohio, who is brand new to football and already this good. Juck, you want to run down through your thoughts there?
Yeah, man, really happy for Favor. I think it's awesome. This was a dude who has wanted to be a Buckeye forever, wanted that offer so bad, was clearly just, ridiculously happy that he got that offer yesterday. And then he goes on today and he narrows it down to his final 3 already. Miami, SC, and Ohio State, like right off the rip. And we know where that's going, right? So, feel great for him, man. That's an awesome story. And he's a heck of a talented back with a lot of room to grow still. Sam, he was one of the few that really were attached to Justin Fry. And that wasn't great for him when that happened. So yesterday was a big deal with Sam's visit. And I think that things are going real well and back on track. He also has developed a relationship with Ryan Day that he didn't have so much previously. So things looking real good for Sam. I think he ends up a Buckeye in the long run. And Rock, there's saying someone's a priority and there's treating them like a priority and making them feel like a priority. As it stands right now, I don't know that the Buckeyes have done a great job of that compared to Alabama and Oregon. I really don't. And when we talk about, I've got the sense that there is a lot of, there's been some misrepresentations here. Number one, I just found out today that people are going around saying his dad wants him to go to Bama. That's definitely not the case. His dad grew up a Buckeye fan. His dad went to school with Nate Clements, was his good buddy growing up. And, their cousin is John Hicks. Like, this is a Buckeye family. His dad was a dude who was very like you or I would be if our kid got an offer to Ohio State. Like it meant a lot to him when it first happened. And Bama and Oregon have been in on that recruitment for a long time. As far as the official visits, that he's been to Ohio State 12 times. He'll get to the official visits. That wasn't like these are the only 4 I'm taking. That was just dude asks him, what official visits do you have scheduled? He says, I got these 4 scheduled. And the guy presents it in his graphic as in, this is it, right? This is all the 4 he's taking. That's not it at all. He'll take his official to Ohio State, and the Buckeyes are still in it. But Oregon and Alabama are also really in it, and they've done a great job. Obviously, when the dead period opened up, Oregon, USC, Bama, they were all here in my city in Akron. Ryan was down south. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of priorities for him. It's a matter of priorities for the kid. And you could certainly see how if, you know, you were that hometown kid, how that might bother you. And he wasn't the only one. I'm sure that would irritate me or any of these other Ohio guys when you see, you know, your coach heads down south immediately and you got these guys from out of state coming in to see you. So I get it from both sides. Like Ryan Day has to prioritize where he needs to go. And at the same time, like if someone's telling you you're a priority, there's telling you that and they're showing you that. So, you know, it is what it is right now. I don't think the relationship's in a bad spot right now. I still think the Buckeyes got a great shot. If you were asking me, would I take the Buckeyes over the field right now? I don't think I would today, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to change that.
What about him as what about him as a prospect? You get a lot of people talking about the 5'10" thing, and he's not tall enough or whatever. I don't buy all that. But what's your thoughts on him as a prospect?
I think he is. I think he's one of the most elite athletes in this entire class. We've seen him drop like a rock in the ratings. Funny, I just said like a rock. That was not intentional. But we've seen him drop like a rock in the ratings because of the 5'10". I think it's just silly, man. You get to this part, you've got enough film on this guy to see that he is just as locked down as it gets. Not only that, he makes a ton of effort plays that you don't usually see out of high schoolers, like 50 yards down the field to save a touchdown at the 2. His film is just littered with plays like that, and he's faster than anybody else. On offense, he's amazing as well. He's just a dude, man. He's a straight up dude. And who's to say he's not going to grow anymore still? These guys are 17, you know what I mean? But yeah, he's 5'10". Everybody's enamored with the longer corner. I get it. Sure, we'd prefer if he was 6'2". But there isn't a corner in this class that is as good as him right now, skills-wise, that's for sure.
So my question, Juck, how does Ohio State mend that relationship? Because if I'm Rock Hill and I'm the number 1 DB, I don't care what the ratings say. That's what he was for like 2 years straight in this class. And then all of a sudden, it seems like whenever Ohio State shows interest in somebody, they just drop their rankings. So to me, he's still the number 1 corner in this class. How do they show him that he is a priority? What does OG Walt need to do?
I mean, I don't think, like when you say, like, I don't think it's bad. I just don't think that they are putting on the press as hard as Oregon and Bama are right now. Those guys are coming extremely hard. And there is, I don't know, maybe a sentiment that with a lot of the in-state guys that the Buckeyes are, I don't want to say taking them for granted, but they're not giving them as much attention as they are out-of-state guys. Mm-hmm. And I think that after we've seen now 2 classes in a row where you've seen that these in-state guys are now much more apt to leaving the state, that the Buckeyes are just going to need to adjust and start treating them like they treat the out-of-state guys. Like, we got to recognize that these dudes will leave, and we've got to show them just as much effort and attention, because it's human nature, right? If you think you got somebody in the bag or it's going to be a little bit easier, you know, you're going to take that time and invest it somewhere else. And it's not an easy job. Where do we invest our time? We've only got so much and so many guys, but I think they do need to adjust a little bit more on that front.
I think in terms of not enough time, you have unlimited coaches. Like, you have to make time. You have to prioritize it. You have to really lock down a schedule, and you need to stick to that schedule. You got so many coaches that could take stuff off your plate, but as a position coach, you have to make time, especially for the number 1 targets in your room.
Yeah, so I used to put this just on Justin Fry, right? So that not enough effort was put into Ohio recruits, because back in the day, if you were a recruit in Ohio, I'm not sure they had to put in that much effort. Recruiting has changed. It's completely different now. And I've felt over the past couple years, I don't know what it is because I'm not in there. So I'm just going to use an example word, like almost an arrogance about recruiting Ohio recruits. Like, hey, we're Ohio State. You're in Ohio. You've watched us play your whole life. If you want to come play here, you'll come play here, right? Mentality. I saw that in the Justin Fry, some recruitments there, but here's an example of where it kind of bleeds out into there. And I think recruiting has changed to the point where if it was me at Ohio State, I'm making in-state kids they're my first visits. They're the number one priorities. Every kid that I am even slightly interested in Ohio, I'm going to make sure that's the first place that I go. I mean, that's just what it is, because I think that locks it in. These out-of-state kids, I mean, David Sanders, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on of flights and visits and crystal balls and the last moment flipping, man. These in-state kids, Albert Hill's been to he's came to you 12 times. How many times you been to him? So I just think it needs to change. And there's a lot in college football. There's a lot to juggle. But you're Ohio State. You got, 60 coaches on staff now. So it's like, get that figured out. You know what I'm saying? And make Ohio guys your number one. Sam Greer, Will Conway, Adam Guthrie. I mean, we saw the Adam Guthrie, the late, offer. The favorite key just got offered, which I understand that, right? Like to a certain point. But recruiting's now changing. So there's another aspect of it. These late offers to Ohio kids, I think, really shows you where Ohio State is with their mindset on Ohio kids. And I think it's that. It's perceived as arrogance. I don't know what it is, but that's how I perceive it. I could be wrong there. But we'll see. If Ryan Day keeps up what he's doing, he's going to change that, right? We see what he's done this year with O-line recruiting. It's going to hit him one day. Maybe this Albert Hill thing, maybe that's what it was. He saw, oh my God, he's not visiting. He didn't schedule an official visit yet. Maybe we need to change our Ohio recruiting.
So everybody's favorite Buckeye mom made a good point. And maybe this is the reason that we're seeing the lack of go hard from the coaching staff with Ohio kids. And this is what she said. I met a mom 2 years ago from Ohio. She told me her son wanted the OSU offer so bad, and her son isn't at Ohio State right now. And I have a feeling who she's talking about. I won't say any names, but I'm sure you guys could figure that out too as well. Probably someone in Devin Sanchez's recruiting class.
Well, see, that's the thing. At least I'm not. I'm sure JUCK, Belly not either. We're not making a blatant statement about all recruitments and all Ohio kids. That's not the case. This is just like an overall thought. Yes, you're going to have those kids. I think at Trey McNutt, I don't think it would have mattered. I don't think if we would have made him our number one priority, he just wanted to go somewhere else. That's going to happen. College football's changed. We're not going to be getting all these Ohio. Even if you do make them the first, you're not going to get all your Ohio commits you want anymore. The game has changed, but that was an overall blanket statement by me in terms of, hey man, I'm just going to prioritize the Ohio kids first. That doesn't mean these recruits aren't interested in Ohio State or are interested and are going to go there. No, man, things are different. Kids raised differently. All type of factors go into it. But you guys got anything else to add about Ohio State recruiting right now? We're going to move on to spring ball and what we saw from the practice and our thoughts on the team coming up.
No, I'm ready to get the spring ball, buddy.
Yeah. Right, here we go. Number one thing, right? We only seen one. Well, now, there's been 2 practices now. They practiced today, right?
Yeah.
I'm not tripping.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Oh, they practice tomorrow. So there's only been one. But obviously, let's talk about it, man. The QB battle. Is there a QB battle? I have been more on I think Julian wins the job, but I'm giving more credit to Lincoln Keenholz. He got here late as a recruit, never focused on football. Everybody only remembers him in the Missouri game. So I think he's getting written off way too easy in this, but then you also have what the coaches say and what Ryan Day has said about him and his recruiting ranking and the videos we see with the ball coming off, the videos of his training and whatnot. But Juck, give me your opinion on this QB battle, air quotes.
I really like Lincoln as a dude, as a Buckeye, and everything about him. When I look at a guy who was in the system for a year, Julian comes in and kind of passes him in short order as a true freshman. Obviously Lincoln can improve, but he's going to have to improve at a faster rate than Julian, who was already ahead of him. So from that perspective, I think, if you're a betting man, these are heavy odds that Julian's the guy. Doesn't mean Lincoln's out of it. But, I would say that I'm certainly leaning, pretty heavy for Julian here.
So with me, I think Julian wins, but I don't think that Lincoln is the backup. I think TSC, Tavian St. Clair, pushes Julian hard. I think once he learns the playbook, it's going to be a battle, but I think ultimately Julian's going to win. And that's why I stand with it. I hope Lincoln stays with the team because we need some quarterback depth. I'm sure they're going to hit the portal to get a fourth scholarship quarterback because that's what Day likes in his room. But if Lincoln ends up transferring before, then that means what? He's going to go to the portal and get 2 transfer quarterbacks? I don't think that will happen. So I think what Coach Day will do is play it strategically and make sure that Lincoln still feels like he has a fair shot at this to try to keep him there because we actually need it.
Yeah. And listen, everybody, we know it's only been one practice, but what else are we going to talk about? We know, trust me, we get it. There's one practice. We're not taking too much from one practice and the whole 9 yards, but it happened. We're going to talk about what we saw and different things like that. But Juck, I'm really interested to get your take on this CJ Hicks thing.
Wait, I want to talk. Hold on. I want to hit back. So I was talking with Chris earlier today. Me and Chris were talking to Melo's point here. Chris is feeling like Melo right now that Tavian's going to be able to do this. And I'm just like, I'm blown away. Like, I think Tavian's great. I just there's part of me that feels like RD is never going to let that happen with a freshman. Like, he's just never going to let a freshman win it because he's never going to feel. And this was like last year, we were talking about Cam Ward, and he and I both agreed Cam Ward, more talented quarterback than Will Howard. But for Ryan Day, a guy that goes off script like a Cam Ward would drive him insane. And I feel like a freshman couldn't master his system and would have to go off script and be a great playmaker, which Tavian can be. But I just feel like, I don't know, man. Do you think he could really win? It would be amazing. I love freshman quarterbacks. I think it's so much fun.
So I don't share the sentiment with Melo about that, specifically because of Ryan Day and kind of what you just hit on. I think he's way too cautious of a coach. He was a previous quarterback. He obviously really hones in on the quarterback position, quarterback whisperer of college football. I think that this is a teaching lesson, a developmental lesson for Tavian St. Clair. And if all of a sudden the start of the season, Ryan Day just pushes him up, I just think you'll kind of lose. Not that you will, it's just that you could. And Ryan Day in particular with quarterbacks, we see that he's been pretty cautious with decision that he makes and stuff like that. And I think he's really focused on making sure Tavian grasps this. But on the point of could Tavian pass him up skill-wise and knowing the playbook? For sure. But I think even if that happens, even if Ryan Day is looking and he sees that Tavian St. Clair is a little bit better than Lincoln Keenholz, I'm not sure that would ever get announced, or that's a good thing to bring up though. But I don't think that would happen, but it could.
To be fair, I think Julian is going to be the starter. All I'm saying is I think Tavian's going to clearly, in my opinion, I think Tavian's definitely going to pass Lincoln, and I think he's going to push Julian to keep improving. I'm on your heels. If you slip up just a little bit, I could surpass you. But I do believe this is Julian's team right now. That's my opinion.
The only thing I know for sure is that Tavian St. Clair is way better than Bryce Underwood. That's the only thing I know for a fact.
For
So
sure.
I don't know much, but that's about it. But you'll get these out of the way real fast. Dude, man, thank you so much for the $20, man, for the cause. We appreciate the heck out of you. Dennis Moore, what up, Dennis? In memory of ZZM. Yeah, absolutely, man. Will be missed immensely. Rome, thanks for the $4.99. Definitely want the Ohio kids to get scholarships because I'm a AK Rowdy kid. But if they take my nephew out of North Carolina, I won't be mad. Yeah, for sure, man. We're going to try to get his nephew on the show and do an interview with him. So that'll be cool. But yeah, recruiting's getting crazy. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, what did we just talk about? Oh yeah, the quarterback battle. I wanted to move in to CJ Hicks, but we can bottle that with the defensive line, our depth there, our thoughts about what the heck are we going to do, Juck? What's up this year with our defensive line?
Well, Kenyatta, the way he came on late in the year, taking snaps from Mitchell Melton and Caden Curry when the three of them were kind of splitting those up evenly, and Kenyatta really started taking the bulk of those, really coming on, ended the year hot. I think he's coming into that prospect we all thought maybe he could eventually be, and that gives me a lot of confidence over there. Caden Curry, I've always been a big fan. There's a lot of people that are concerned right now that maybe he can't be a 3-down guy, can't play a ton of snaps. If he can't, I kind of really like Logan George. I love the way Larry responded when asked about Logan George, about if he could make that jump, and he kind of chuckled. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We know Larry knows when he's got a player, and it sounded to me like he knew he got a player. So when we talk about those guys, great. Caden McDonald, I know we all love him, and Edric, I think, is a future first rounder. His ceiling, he's not even scratched the surface of it yet. So those starting guys, fantastic. It's behind them, it's a lot of unknown. When we look in the middle and we're talking about time alone, Jason Moore, Will Smith Jr., I would have thought like Jason Moore, we thought we would have seen a little bit more out of him last year. They talked him up in last spring. We saw next to nothing. And they go out day one and he's running with the threes. Like, I just really hope that he's the guy, because I don't feel like I ever thought Will Smith was going to be ready till year 4 or 5. And he's in year 3. And then Ty Malone, it's year 5. I really like Ty Malone. He had a great game against Marshall last year. We kind of broke out a little bit, but we didn't see it consistently. Little bit of concern for me in the middle. As far as Hicks, man, I really like Hicks, the guy. I'm going to have to see it before I buy into it. I just got to see it. You know what I mean? Like, he's not shown us anything yet. And he's been supposed to show us something every year. We know that he can blitz, but Larry wants to, he's training him as a 3-down guy. He's got to set the edge. He's got to stop in the run game. And if he can't get that down, he's not going to play. So we're talking about a pretty short window here for him to go from never having played defensive end to getting to that level. Does Patricia use him in some packages to match up personnel? Potentially. But if I'm Patricia and I'm going to use somebody in that style of role, Arvell and Sonny to me, or Pettijohn sound like a better option. That's just my opinion.
So I laughed because I saw your episode about CJ and I knew how you feel. So in terms of the D-line, the starters, I'm 100% on board with. I have zero concerns there. It's really the lack of depth and mainly at the DN position for me. I feel a little more highly about the defensive tackle spots. I think that they're going to show up. But it's the lack of depth at DN that's very concerning. Outside of the starters, I mean, I know we got the guy for the transfer, but how do we really – I know LJ is the GOAT, but do we really – I haven't seen him play, honestly. So I don't know if he can handle Big Ten O-linemen. I really don't. So I'm concerned about the DN spot, and I think Coach Day is as well, and that's why he said, yeah, we're going to have to hit the portal. It's pretty obvious. And I think in terms of the depth on the D-line, that's going to decide if we go back-to-back, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm very high on our starters, like Juck said. I hear a lot of people that aren't. They think that we're going to have a huge drop off with starters. I mean, you're going to have some learning curves there, but I think our starting D line is just going to look different, especially at the defensive end position. You know, JT and Jack were different from Caden and Kenyatta. But I like that. As far as the depth of defensive end, you know, I still got my prediction that we go in the portal and get an Ole Miss defensive end because we're missing that Ole Miss transfer for the class. We always get somebody from Ole Miss. So that's my prediction there. I think we have to. I mean, because you got Josh Mickens, who we did see play a little bit last year and some of those end minutes, and he flashed a little bit from what I remember. Logan George coming in, you got to wait and see what he does. But the last couple recruiting cycles with Larry Johnson, I think I think this last class he signed with Zion Grady and Epi, fantastic. I love those two prospects, but we needed more than two because the last class, would you sign Edric and, you know, you're signing a bunch of D tackles with
Dominic Kirk.
Yeah, Dominic Kirks and Mensa. You know what I mean? They were listed. I think Kirks was listed. Somebody was listed as a defensive end. He's a tackle.
He's a tack. Right. He's not going to play defensive.
He's a tackle.
End. He's a big dude.
And then Edric Houston.
Yeah.
Recruited as defensive end. He's a tackle, and that's what he's going to be. He's up to 285 or 90 pounds right now, which is
and he looks good,
amazing. Yeah. So we really missed on a lot of our prospects on the defensive end over the last couple cycles, and that's put us in this position where we're at. So, you know, if there's two positions, it's offensive line and it's the defensive end position for recruiting. I think, you know, Dave paid attention to that with some of his defensive hires that he made and other coaches. If you pay attention to the areas they're from as well, I think Dave realizes, hey, man, we got to do something for our defensive end recruiting. But, you know, we still got the spring portal to go to. And if we don't, you know, I love our starters. And you got Logan George, the transfer coming in. If Larry Johnson got him, you know, I like the potential there. You got Josh Mickens, CJ Hicks. When I hear CJ Hicks, this is bad, but it's just kind of what it is. The only thing I can think of is I forget what game it was, but he had an open line directly to the quarterback and he just blew it. Just missed him. And
ripped out of his shoes, Dev.
Yeah.
He was on his butt.
Who
was it? CJ Card? I mean, juked him out of his shoes, bro.
Yeah. So that's what I think of. Can he change my mind? For sure. But I'm there with you. I think the potential is through the roof. We just got to see where he's at mentally. We'll see. You know, he couldn't handle the linebacker position mentally. He couldn't handle all that stuff. And you're changing positions. You know, that's a tough thing to do. Not everybody can be Sonny Styles and come in and go from safety to linebacker and do what you do. You know what I'm saying? So that's a tough one, but we'll see. You know, it's Ohio State. It's Ryan Day. Ryan Day, he will attack weaknesses of the team. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? He'll do it. So I think that's the area where we're 100% doing that. Speaking on that, real quick, I want to ask you guys, do you think we go after any other positions in the portal? I'm thinking tackle if one comes up, but Juck, you think we go after anybody else besides defensive ends, maybe tackle or something?
Yeah, I'm with you. Tackle if one comes up, but it's going to be a tough sell, man. It's going to be a tough sell to bring somebody in. And then maybe safety. You know, you brought in Keenan Nelson Jr. I think he's last year in the spring, and I don't know. I think he's injured or he wasn't playing on Monday.
Yeah.
He wasn't messing around on Monday, but it looks like you could maybe use a depth piece there as well. But all in all, man, I think this is you know, prime time to, if you're ever going to do anything nefarious, to get you a couple of defensive linemen, that would be great. Maybe dip back into Hero's text messages and see if you can get him to change his mind and come back.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
Mello?
you don't have to jump in his text messages if he's already on campus. You can just have that conversation with him. Like, hey, tell him, come on back home. But yeah, obviously we definitely need D-line help. He's already put out the bat signal at his presser. Like, yes, we're definitely going to hit the portal for some D-line help. So that's the message to all the agents. Like, all right, hit us up, contact us, so we can start negotiating, but we definitely need some help there. But like Juck said, definitely safety. Safety. I can see them going to get another safety piece. In terms of tackle, it's going to be hard to get another O-line piece, but at the same time, I'm not as concerned with the O-line as I was last season.
No.
I feel like the O-line is going to be a strength for this team.
Yep, I do as well.
And obviously quarterback, I'm sorry, because he's going to want 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
Well, starting to wrap up here, I want to hit on a couple more things. The secondary battles that we see going on with obviously Caleb Downs as a starter, Malik Harford running with the ones yesterday with McLean and Lee Roker backing them up. And then what are we going to do at the nickel position? There's so many different options there. There's so many people saying Jermaine Matthews, Iggy, Lorenzo Styles Jr. is there now. You know, there's a lot of different options that we can do with the secondary. So, JUCK, run us through that real fast.
So here's what I got. IGB comes back to improve his draft stock. Yeah, for all of us outside looking in, he looks like the perfect nickel. Built for it, physical, can get away with his hands a little more. He didn't come back to do anything but improve his draft stock, play another year with his guys. He doesn't do that if he moves to nickel. He's got to be a lockdown corner to move from second to first round. Like, versatility at the nickel is not going to move that up. He needs to be viewed as one of those type of dudes. So I don't think that's really on the table. As far as Jermaine, I think he's the best corner cover you got until Devin becomes that. And I think that's way too valuable to move into nickel, which really isn't as very valuable, but not as valuable as a shutdown corner, which I think Jermaine could be. So those two are off the table for me in my logic. If I'm just running through all this, they put Bryce West there on Monday. Bryce is really a great athlete. He's 5'9" though. I don't know, man. Can he bow up and take down a back like a big?
He's only 5'9".
Yeah. He's a shorter guy, but he's 195, so he weighs as much as McLean. And he's crazy fast, great cover guy. But Aaron Scott seems to me to be the best guy for that role. Probably really wants to get on the field bad. I know he really wants to get on the field bad. And I feel like maybe he's got the right size that he can put on the right kind of mass to really handle that. He's kind of built a lot like Hancock. We know he's fast as lightning. He can cover. He's long. It seems to me like he's probably the best fit with this group here. That's just my shot.
So with you saying that, is Lorenzo Styles Jr. not the answer for you at nickel?
So I was saying just to go up against Lorenzo, but in my personal opinion, no, I don't really. He's the only guy that I'm not like feeling great about. You know, he was okay. He was okay. I'm not super juiced about it.
That I share that exact sentiment with you, you know, and maybe, getting a little more experience running with the ones this year. You know, he's got the athleticism and the speed to do it, but I'm there with you. Not quite sure what's going on there. Mello, what's your take? Secondary.
Here's where I'm at. I understand IGB came to improve his staff, his draft stock, and he will when he cuts down his penalties. He's going to nickel if I'm OG Walt. I'm sorry. He likes to hit. He's very physical. I'm starting Devin Sanchez on the outside, across from Jermaine Matthews. I'm having Jalen McLean next to Caleb Downs as the safety, and we could rotate from there and have a discussion about who's the backups and how many snaps are going to be played. But I'm playing my 2 best outside coverage corners and my best 11, as I should say, on defense. And I think that's the best 11. And I feel like that out of everyone, IGB is the best to play nickel. And at the end of the day, he's going to have to put the team first. And he's going to have to limit his penalties. And that's just what it is. You see UGA, they did it with Malachi Starks. They took him out of his safety position and put him at nickel this year. And it didn't hurt his draft stock. You just have to perform. That's what's going to help your draft stock perform.
That ain't going to help him, Dev. That ain't going to help him, Mello. Listen, here's the deal. I understand what you're saying, but if he was debating on whether or not he was going to come back, right? And he had this conversation already with Walton Day. Like, all right, I'm on the fence. I want to come back. I think this discussion was probably already had. Like, I'm not coming back if you're moving me. I'm not coming back if I'm not playing. I think that probably went down. You know what I mean? Like, if you give a guy your word, like, you know, I don't know what
and it might have, and then you have a rediscussion. They gave Edric, I know for a fact they gave Edric Houston their word he was going to play defensive end, but it was best for the team and best for him to move inside. You could readdress that conversation at a later time. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to put the team behind an 8 ball just to appease one player.
Yeah, I totally see the want for Iggy to play at nickel. I think that's where it would be at. I see both sides of it. I'm leaning more towards he's going to be an outside corner. That's just kind of what it is with him coming back and different things like that. I think we're deep enough and we have enough skill to get it figured out. I think if you keep Iggy and Jermaine on the outside, I also do not see how you keep, and this is saying a lot from, I've never seen him play a snap in college football, but just from the physical experience and high school film, I'm not sure how you keep Devin Sanchez off the field. So I think there's enough skill in that secondary to get that figured out to where secondary could be very, very good. But wrapping up here, I want to get everybody's takes on the tight end room because I feel like we are absolutely loaded, man. And who the heck's going to be the starter? You have Max Clare, Will Kazmarek, Bennett Christian, Jelani Thurman. That's Mello's dude, looking real good, putting on some weight. Is he focused this season? Is he going to live up to his potential? Is he a CJ Hicks where it's like, okay, like we got to see this thing. Juck, where are you at the tight end room, man? We got the best tight end room in the nation or what?
Bam! I love it. I love Keenan Bailey now. I was so skeptical of Keenan Bailey for so long. Gosh, this guy's just been fantastic in recruiting and coaching those guys up. They got so much better through the course of the year last year. And the ingredients he had, the least talented room on the team, and they just got better and better and better. And now you got Max Clare going to start. I think he's going to be the best tight end in all of college football. And when we talk about Kaz and Bennett Christian, two guys that are really solid, know what to do, great leaders, can both block. Kaz maybe receive a little better, Bennett block a little better, but both really solid dudes. Jelani, Max Clare just came in and came into the role he was supposed to have, right? That was supposed to be him right there. He was supposed to be the guy emerging into that role. So what does that do to him? I don't know. Can he overcome that, keep his head in the game? It would be pretty challenging for me. I got to be honest. But if anybody can keep it together right now, I got faith that Keenan can. And we know Jelani's got a ton of skill. He's, like you said, Dev, you know, he had it. They called him out straight. They told us everything that was going on with his press conferences without saying it, right? When he called him out and then he came back and said a couple of weeks later, you know, he's focusing more, which basically, okay, this was, to me, that said this was a Jelani thing, not a developmental thing. He wasn't all the way in or wasn't all the way focused. Then we hear from Keenan last week. Keenan says that he's, you know, doing all the little things and doing all the little things right. You guys would be bored by what he's doing, the changes he's making. So if that's the type of stuff they're saying he's doing right now, I feel good about him moving on, taking the next step. And I just know that if you could line up 12 personnel with Jelani and Max Clare, I mean, you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable.
Yeah. Mello?
Yeah, so I'm going to just let it be known. I know Jelani's family. I go to the gym with his cousin. His cousin said he's super locked in. I'm not worried about his head at all. I see Bryson Rogers and him are going in. They have their own YouTube channel. They don't post everything, but they're getting in a lot of extra work. And I'm going to just tell you flat out, if Jelani's locked in and he's blocking, nobody's keeping off the field. Not Max Clare, not anybody. You can't teach his size, his speed, and his athleticism at all. And that's his biggest superpower. And while you talk, I'll pull up this video and with Jelani just straight up jumping over people and windmill dunking on.
Oh, yeah.
You can't teach that athleticism. And don't forget, in Georgia, he set a high school record, him and Air, in terms of most points scored in the history of Georgia football. So that's saying a lot. And he was playing pretty much a wide receiver position. He's like 6'7". With his size and his speed, man, I'm telling you, in that athleticism. If he's locked in like his cousin is saying he's locked in, he'll be on the field. Nobody's keeping him off the field.
Oh, that's what it comes down to. I mean, Juck, you hit on it too, man. If he's locked in or not. I would make the argument that Jelani has the most potential out of anybody in the tight end room, but we just haven't seen it yet. So, I mean, I compare it to kind of like the CJ Hicks thing, man, where it's like you're just oozing with potential. We got to see it now. But when you got a Max Clare coming in, third team All-American, Big Ten All-American or whatever, and look at his film, I mean, golly, the 12 personnel, both of them, they would definitely be unstoppable. Have you seen this windmill dunk yet, Juck,
No.
from Jelani? You haven't seen it? He's going to pull it up for us. But we're going to close out. We'll watch that video. And, Juck, I got to ask you, man, what's your expectations for this season? What needs to happen for you to say Ryan Day succeeded this season? And then what's our floor? What's our floor, man?
I think I'm so high on this team. I mean, we look at the returning production. Yeah, you're 101st out of 134, but it's all relative. I'm looking at our top competition, and that's Oregon, and that's Texas, and that's Georgia, and they're all right there with us. Like the team that has the most returning production is Clemson, and that's a team that, you know, while if you're taking a flyer bet with them 7th best odds, that's a pretty good bet because of the odds, but I don't trust them to get it done. So when we look at our competition, the biggest competition in the country, you know, they have just as many questions as us. Do I think they have more talent coming up through the pipeline? No. So with that, I think that Ryan Day right now has the #1 program in the country. Everything is clicking. It's built to succeed. And he has made a little bit of a change here. We could see it in the press conference. He talked about it. Yeah, things are different now. What was holding him back? It was him. It was always him in the big games. It was him in the game. And now that's gone. That's gone. He's got one in the bank. He's untouchable. He's untouchable. I got all the faith in the world that 10-2 in a regular season is the floor for this team, and in a national championship is the limit here. I mean, I think that it's very possible that this team repeats in a totally different team. I really do, because when we look at the team, who else has got this? Like, it's just, there's nobody out there that stands out. People want to say Texas, like they're missing just as much. That's all about Arch. What if Julian pops? Then all of a sudden it's even Steven. Remember last year we came into talking about Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers. You know, who's to say Arch isn't one of them that just falls by the wayside by the end of the season? So this Ohio State team has just as much opportunity, and there's a reason that they are still currently the favorite to win the national championship, because those who know, and we know. That's what it is.
Yeah. Hey, man, let me get these LOA so I don't forget. Rome, thanks for the $4.99. Did Juck compete the Arnold Classic, or is he trying to get in Larry's room? They talk about you being swole in the chat, Juck. You swole,
I did not. I did not compete in Arnold. I have competed before, not in the Arnold Classic.
Yeah. He gave another $1.99 for it, man. He said, Juck for the D-line. So that's what it is, man. We got to get Juck in there, dude. Yeah, Juck, I share your sentiments. There's nobody that I don't see another team in the nation that matches our talent. I mean, you got teams like Oregon out there, but then it's just like, well, I don't even know about them, but the talent, the JJ Smiths, the Max Clares, the potential at the quarterback, even our D line, the offensive line is going to be a strength of the team this year. The coaching staff that Ryan Day is putting together, the culture that he has built there, the freshman class coming in with some of the studs there. I'm still very, very high that we signed the #1 class in the nation. They just don't want that to happen. I mean, I wouldn't trade classes with a single other school. So I get the loss of experience, but people act like this is a new thing that we're losing, you know, how many starters. It's not new, man. This happens every year, just at different, different levels, dude. So it happens. It's college football. At the same time we lost people, so didn't the rest of college football. I mean, Penn State's really trying to go all out this year. Just it ain't going to happen, man. You got to get a new coach. He's a joke. Anyway, I don't like him. But yeah, dude, the talent on this team, the sky is the limit with them. I mean, yeah, Juck, the floor is I could see a repeat. Like, if we don't win the Natty, I'm going to be upset. Like, that's just where I'm at. That's just what I'm going to say. Like, I think we got the talent, but we'll see. The quarterback, well, obviously we'll see what he does, and we'll see what Larry Johnson can do with the D-line. Those are my two things that I think are going to depend on how far we make it this season.
The only team I was concerned with was UGA. UGA quietly is pretty stacked. I'm going to be honest with you. Their skill positions are stacked. It really depends on their O-line, and their D-line is pretty decent coming up this year. Secondary has some question marks. But after hearing what Kirby Smart said about his first week of spring ball, about how he can't coach the guys hard, they're complaining how they can't finish practice. They're just trying to survive practice, sounding like they have a strength and conditioning problem. It's pretty concerning if you're a UGA fan to hear that stuff. I mean, Kirby didn't even say that about the team last year. He said, oh, we got a lot of work to do. And you saw they really had a lot of work to do. People thought he was just coach speaking, trying to motivate, but he was being honest. And seeing how Kirby's honest, I think they're in a little bit of trouble. Oregon's young. They lost a lot of pieces. And honestly, I know they're great at recruiting and they take risks with Dan Lanning, but I just don't trust that coaching staff at all. Texas lost a lot of pieces. And what have we really seen Arch do besides having a Manning last name? He balled out against a lower level D1 school, but when he came in for the one snap against us, he got concussed from getting hit in the back by the hardest hitting safety in the country. And I know a lot of Texas fans were really upset that he didn't come back in the game, and they're like, "Why? He was concussed. He couldn't come back in the game." So I firmly believe that if we rotate and develop depth on the D line and throughout our players and our team, we'll run it back.
Yeah,
but I want to try to share this and see, since Juck didn't.
Juck, while he's trying to do that, I'll tell you that we asked 2 trivia questions at the end of the show, but we've kept. Here we go.
Oh!
The best one ain't even come up yet. But yeah, he's a freak. You got to remember his mother played in the WNBAs in the Hall of Fame, and his dad is Odell Thurman that played in the NFL. His mom played in the WNBA. My bad. So, like, genetically, he has stuff that you just can't teach. That's what I'm saying. So if he's locked in and he's locked into the playbook and in the weight room and working on his technique of blocking, you're not keeping him off the field.
You know what I'm thinking, guys? So if we go, like, let's say we go game number 6 and we realize, okay, Julian's a dude. We got one here. Far and away, the number 1 team, right? You got the far and away. If we realize and the whole country sees, all right, Julian is a dude, because that's what everybody's waiting to see. Does Ohio State have a quarterback? They know they got everything else.
Look at this. Look at our skill positions, dude. I mean, even our running backs, but you know, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter, Max Clare, Jelani Thurman, Bryson Rogers,
Phillip Bell, Desi Jones.
My goodness, dude. I mean, and if you got a quarterback that can sling it, I mean, look what Will Howard did with the talent. I mean, he was a great passer. I love Will Howard, but he wasn't an elite passer. He wasn't a CJ Stroud passing the ball or anything like that. And I'm super high on Will Howard, so don't take that as any type of downgrade.
Well, remember last spring, you know, they were all talking about how garbage he was when he came in the spring. Like, that's the other thing. Like, we've seen Billy Fessler was so much work on Howard and just turn him into a total stud, man. If they can do that, and when has Ryan Day ever let us down with a quarterback, really? And Julian's the guy he want, you know, his handpicked guy. You had one guy went wrong, him and McCord, and that was a lot of personal relationship as well. So I just got all faith that that's going to be what it always has been, you know? So,
yeah.
I just got a quick question for both of you. Do you think, you know how Day likes to balance the run and the passing game? Do you think with this team and the losing Q and Trey that will be more of a passing team than a running team?
It's an interesting question, right? Because you got, you know, not the most obvious set of great running backs, and then you also got the really young quarterback. So I think it probably balances out, unless we see early on that Julian just really is an advanced guy. And I don't know. I think we'll have a better feel by that in the fall.
Yeah. I think it balances itself out. I wanted Brian Hartline, offensive corner. I want to say passing, look at our receivers, but at the same time, you know, you say, look at our receivers. The question is the quarterback. And then you say, look at our running backs. We're losing Trey and Q, but look at our O-line. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it kind of can level itself out. I want to lean more towards the passing because of Julian and his size. But then you look at our offensive line, our blocking tight ends that we have. You know, I just hope we don't. I just pray that we don't do this, man. We got to run it to open up the pass game. Bull crap. I'm so sick of hearing that, dude. I just don't believe that. But
right.
Anyway,
Me selfishly, I want to pass more, but that's just me being a fan and selfish.
No, I'm with you, man. I think that Jeremiah Smith, when we're talking non-quarterbacks, is the single most game-changing offensive player we've seen in college football in 15 years.
I agree.
And you've got to exploit that. You just have to exploit that. Whether that is you change the whole defense to take him away and you go pepper him elsewhere or whatnot, but you have to exploit it.
Yeah.
What would you guys do? I don't know if now I'm not going to ask that question. So Juck, anyway, we do that's going to cause a whole conversation. We do two trivia questions before we get off. I'm giving away a ticket to the Washington game, so you're more than welcome to stick around while we ask these. But I know I've kept you for an hour and 15 minutes, so if you got to jump off here, this takes like a minute. So
go ask the question.
Stick around for them. All right, here we go. Mello, you ready with the timer? Chat,
Yeah,
are
ready.
you ready? Here we go. These are hard ones. If somebody gets these, I'm going to be amazed.
Probably
So,
Stilly.
how long is Archie Griffin's NCAA record streak for consecutive games with at least 100 yards rushing? How many games? What's Archie Griffin's streak for 100 yards rushing? This is insanity, by the way. Not 34, not 30. Boom, Craig, got it. Wow.
Woo!
31 games. 31
that
games.
Was fast.
It was, man. That's surprising.
The Jeopardy theme song didn't even get in the good part.
I know, man. All right, here we go. Final question. If somebody doesn't get this, then we're not asking another one. It'll just be one for the night. Who did Eddie George gash for 314 yards in 1995 to become the first Buckeye player to rush for 300 yards in a game? What game did Eddie George rush for 314 yards? That's a little Sean Schrock. Boom. No.
He got it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sean Schrock on it, dude. Illinois. A lot of people knew that one. Look at that. Taco.
Yeah.
I didn't know that one. I'm going to be honest.
Scott. I didn't either. All right. Good stuff. So we're adding Craig to the board. Craig's now added with 1 point. Sean Schrock got another one. The board is Steely 5, Sean Schrock 4, Uncle Bubba 1, The Natural 2, Russ 2, Taco 1, Craig 1. You're going to win a free ticket to the Washington game. You got to cover airfare and your stay there. If you can't go, I'll reimburse you the money that I paid for the ticket. But, Juck, appreciate the heck out of you, man. It's been way too long. We're going to have to make this happen more often. This YouTube world and doing these videos, you don't realize the amount of time that it takes to organize things and get it ready. If you want to put on an actual, like, decent show, you know, and Juck, I know you run a business as well. I do as well. Mello, you got a daughter in college. It's a lot to sit down. So sometimes we just get rolling, man. Half the time I just pull up this show and get going. There ain't no notes or nothing. I just got to go with it, man, because ain't no time. But we got to do this more often, Juck. It's a pleasure having you on the show. You got any final thoughts or words for Buckeye Nation?
Absolutely, man. Always fun to come on and chop it up with you guys. Probably my favorite. You know, I do a lot of these where I pop on with folks and talk, but this one's always my favorite. It feels like family. So appreciate you guys for having me on as always, man.
Yeah, for sure. Mello, any final words?
Yeah, shout out all the Juck guys. Thank you, Juck, for coming and always supporting the channel. I love the man cave. We got to keep that Ohio State helmet in the front, though. We'll move that Oregon one to the back. But other than that, I just want to say rest in peace to ZZM and condolences to him and his family. And to Buckeye Nation, we lost a great one that's always in all the chats and always supporting all school Buckeye boys and JUCK show. So, yeah, that's all I got, really.
Yeah, for sure. JUCK is family here in the Buckeye boys. I remember watching his first live ever, dude, being on there, cheering him on and whatnot, dude. It's come a long way, dude. Josh Pate's talking about JUCK now, man. So watch the heck out, dude. ESPN's coming his way here shortly. So everybody get the autographs while you can.
Remember I went to Providence Day for that commitment?
Yeah, bro.
I have it on my IG, man, and like you can hear everybody booing and all the kids talking trash. And I said, "Yeah, Tennessee hasn't won anything. We're winning a natty." And then we went out and did it.
You were so pissed, bro.
I was so mad.
You were like, "Oh, these little kids, man, they were messing with me."
That's what he said. He wanted to go punch these little kids right in the face, man. I'm like, yo, yo, yo. Good stuff, man. Fun times. Well, on that note, everybody, hit the like button if you already haven't done that. Please share us on your X account, your Instagram, your Facebook. Comment below. We're a fan channel. You want to come on, you know how to reach out to us. Appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Go Buckeyes. OH.
I-O.